Imagine a worker beside noisy moving plant. A common first reaction is to write a rule, put up a sign, and issue hearing protection. Those steps may be useful, but the hierarchy of controls asks a stronger question first. Can we remove the hazard or control it closer to the source? The hierarchy of control measures is a way to rank controls from the highest level of protection and reliability to the lowest. It helps you consider the most effective options before relying mainly on people to remember a rule or wear equipment correctly. The order is elimination, then substitution, isolation and engineering controls, followed by administrative controls and personal protective equipment, or PPE. Elimination means removing the hazard or the need for the hazardous activity. If the noisy cutting task can be removed from the work, or materials can arrive already cut, exposure from that task is removed too. The approved model approach is to eliminate the risk where that is reasonably practicable. If elimination is not reasonably practicable, the task becomes minimizing the risk so far as is reasonably practicable. Substitution means replacing the hazard, process, or equipment with a safer option. In this example, that might mean using a quieter machine or a method that produces less noise. The important point is that substitution changes what creates the risk. It does not simply tell the worker to behave differently around the same source. Isolation separates people from the hazard. The plant might be placed in an enclosure, operated from a separated position, or kept behind a physical barrier and controlled access zone. The hazard may still exist, but the design of the workplace reduces contact between the hazard and the people who could be exposed. Engineering controls use a physical or mechanical solution to reduce the risk. Guarding, noise damping, local extraction, interlocks, or automated handling are common types of engineering response, depending on the hazard. Substitution, isolation, and engineering controls sit above administrative controls and PPE because they address the hazard more directly. They are generally less dependent on perfect behavior every time the work is done. Administrative controls change the way people organize and perform the work. They can include procedures, training, supervision, warning signs, inspections, maintenance schedules, and limits on the time a person is exposed. These controls can be important, but they depend on people understanding, remembering, and following them. They also need active supervision and upkeep. A procedure cannot physically stop contact with a moving part or reduce noise at its source. PPE is equipment worn by the worker, such as hearing protection, eye protection, gloves or respiratory protection, selected for the risk. PPE is a lower order control because protection depends on correct selection, fit, use, storage, and replacement. That does not make PPE useless. It means PPE should not be treated as the automatic first or only answer when more direct controls are reasonably practicable. Real workplaces often need a combination. The noisy plant might use damping and guarding, sit inside an isolated area, operate under a controlled procedure, and still require suitable hearing protection for particular tasks. The purpose is not to collect one item from every level. It is to choose the combination that provides the highest reasonably practicable protection for the actual risk. Selecting one control does not automatically make the work compliant. A control is not a one-time choice. It must be implemented, maintained, and checked to confirm it remains effective. Record what was selected, who is responsible, what evidence shows it is in place, and how its effectiveness will be reviewed. Review is needed whenever there is reason to question whether the controls still work as intended. Check the requirements applying in your jurisdiction for specific review duties and triggers. Safe Work Australia develops national model guidance. It is not the enforcing regulator. Model material may be adopted or applied differently across jurisdictions. Check the regulator and requirements that apply where the work is performed, including Victoria's separate occupational health and safety framework. Blue Safe can help keep risk assessments, control actions, worker consultation, field records, and review evidence connected. That makes it easier to see what was decided, who owns the action, whether it was completed, and when effectiveness was checked. Remember the order. Remove the hazard where reasonably practicable. If it remains, control it as directly as you can. Then support those controls with clear work practices and suitable PPE, and keep reviewing whether the whole combination works. For practical WHS documents and organized operational records, get started free with Blue Safe.